Well, I was appointed as an assistant secretary by Governor Edwin Edwards in 1975, 76, and there, and I stayed in that job 5 years, and that was to manage prison industries and the farms and so forth, because I have a degree in agriculture, and I'm an ag teacher for ag education, and then from there we got a Republican governor, and so I was unclassified, and so I landed in the position as warden of Dixon Correctional Institute. But at that point, I had never worked in the prison. I just managed the farms and so forth. And it was a good thing because I didn't have any tradition in me. So I was wide open to new ideas in running the farms and industries and so forth. And having worked for the Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation, then I was more entrepreneurial, which was a good thing. So open to change. And in corrections as far as the prison is very traditional. And the warden normally worked up in Louisiana from starting as a cadet all the way to the top. So then they were in that rut of tradition, so there was no change. So the unique thing was we asked why. Why do you do that? And so asking why caused change. So that's kind of where I came from, and then from there I went on to Angola. It's kind of a funny, unique story about that because I went to the classroom and lasted 3 months. And so it was the worst job I ever had. When I speak to groups, I'll always ask how many school teachers do we have here, and they're going to raise their hand, and I'm going to say, your job's harder than mine. I couldn't do it. I failed. And I remember the principal said, if you break this contract, you'll never teach again. And I said, good, I'm out of here. And so that's how I ended a career with teaching. But anyway, when you learn to be a teacher, they teach you, they have methods courses is what they call them. They teaches you how to manage high school students. That is exactly what enabled me to, I think, be a successful warden. Because the prisoners many times revert back to that mentality because they have nothing really. And so that worked well for me, and that helped a lot. But we learned, even in Louisiana, we had better outcomes in our juvenile schools than we did maybe in the public schools, but the reason was the discipline. So without discipline, you can't learn. Well, the thing is, it's common sense that moral people don't steal your lawnmower. So immoral people are criminals normally, and so they're selfish people that care about themselves. And so we realized the outcome to make that change was moral rehabilitation. So we actually coined that term, I did, morality, because everybody wants morality and everybody wants rehabilitation. So it had no enemies. So we would use the term moral rehabilitation. That's what we're doing here. And consequently, we started the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary in Louisiana, and under Governor Haley Barber, we started it here. And so that's pretty much one thing that drove me to want this job, because I knew it was here, and I've now found that we have 44 graduates, and 22 of them are lifers, which is good, because we want long sentences, because we put a lot of money into them to do this, because you have to keep the separation of church and state. And Mississippi Protestants have spent $50,000 a year for the last 16 years, about $800,000 to support this school at Parchment, but yet that production I just mentioned has never been utilized in the state. And so that's sad to me. So now it's being utilized because I think today the first inmate pastor is going to be preaching in a prison marshal up in North Mississippi to a group of 10 because of COVID. But he will be in the pulpit and he will be preaching because it's like they change each other better than we can from the outside, because he'll be there with them to ultimately have the church in the prison with the inmate pastor. And we proved that with research from Baylor University, very expensive research that we raised the money for, $1.3 million, to do the research, that it works. So we have evidence-based research that this really does have harmonious outcomes. So that's good. So moral rehabilitation is what we're about, to change the culture of the prison here as best we can. That's what changed Angola. I wasn't a phenomenal warden. I just had a phenomenal program. And it was religion, but we didn't care what religion. And so we keep the separation of church and state, and we don't care what religion. Anybody can come, be atheist, what have you. So we're wide open with that because everybody needs to change. Well, see, the result is not that we want you to be any kind of, we don't care if you're a Christian, we want you to be moral. And so we do care, but we really don't, because it's the government. So therefore, we didn't care what religion or what have you, just come on in and we're going to do this, and that's the criteria to get into school. You have to qualify academically, of course, and you have to have a good disciplinary record, and then you can go to school, and then you have to sign a contract that if you cheat, you're going to be expelled. And so that's pretty much it. And then for 4 years, you're getting a real BA degree accredited just like Ole Miss or like LSU. So it has a lot of worth and value, in the private sector is paying for it because we can't use tax dollars. So it's a real benefit to the public because you're getting a free higher education. It's incredible. And so there's nobody really against that. They like that because they like the moral rehabilitation. But here is the real thing. I executed 7 people. And when you see the victims and you really feel it and the pain and so forth, victims really trump. We want less victims. That's what corrections is all about. It means correct deviant behavior. So we're really trying to protect the public. We can't help what they did to get here, but we can help what they are when they get out. So it's important that Mississippi Department of Corrections changes people's lives so that you're safer on the street. I'm not opposed, but I love that we have DNA, because the most horrific thing would be for someone to be executed that wasn't guilty. But with the DNA and technology we have today, we can pretty well be assured that that's not the case. It's also a valuable tool, and if you have time, I can explain why. We had the little girl in Lafayette that was Louisiana that was murdered, a college student, and they caught the person who did it, but he wouldn't tell them where her body was, and their parents were just devastated. So he's facing the death penalty, and there was enough evidence to get a conviction, but they took the death penalty off the table if he would tell where she's buried. And with that in mind, he did. So therefore, they recovered their daughter's body. He didn't get the death penalty. And so that's immeasurable in value, because they could have some sort of peace to have her back. So that's a really good tool for district attorneys when they bargain with situations like that. So in my mind, that made it really worth it. So not to take it off the table would not be that good, I don't think. And but I just work and carry out the law. It's the law in Louisiana, so I kind of keep my opinion to myself and just do the law. So that's kind of where we are. I keep in my screensaver on my phone. I go over here to the back of it, it's there. It says, Cain cleared of wrongdoing tells all, the headlines of the paper. So I go with that because this was a political thing, as the governor indicated. I was cleared of any wrongdoing on television and in the paper. So therefore, it's really a moot thing to me, but people want to talk about it. I almost ran for governor, and I'm a Republican, and the governor that won is a Democrat. And so I'm gone. So you can kind of see the politics in it. And the Republicans, some folks talked me into not running, but I think I could have been a threat. But anyway, maybe I was a threat. So let's just kind of let it rest right there and with these headlines in the paper. Well, we have to avoid the hint of impropriety, and I'll give you an example. My daughter came Sunday, and we want to change the color of the office, but the best thing is for me to buy the paint. And so that's kind of avoiding the hint of impropriety. So we want to have that attitude, and if I do that, that sets an example for everybody else. So we're going to do that. We're going to avoid the hint of impropriety at all costs. But you have really fine people here, and we just need to change our direction and focus on moral rehabilitation. There's some components a person has to have in prison to do the time and do it peacefully. It's good food, good medicine, good praying, and good playing. Now you think about your own life, and you have to have that too. Well, they do as well. And you can't expect someone to think he has cancer and not be able to see the doctor and not be violent. And you can't expect someone who's had poor food every day and is eating poor food, like 2,000 calories, but they only give you that amount. But if you don't like one of those components, then you don't get it. So then you're hungry and you don't like what you're eating. And that's just bull. Beans and rice are cheap. You know, we need to feed people well in prison. Then we got to have play, and we have to have praying, and we have to have those things. We fill that void. All those four, we're going to be cool, and we're going to have a successful prison system. I want to commend the Department of Corrections and the interim commissioner, because if you went to Unit 29 today, it would not be what you saw 3 months ago. And it's incredible the progress they've made and so forth. But I don't know yet, because I haven't really been to any prison because of COVID and because of here, so I haven't seen it. So I wouldn't be prepared to comment. I hope that this Thursday to be out to some and then very quickly, but I have to go to all the prisons. I have to be there with them, eat the lunch with them and so forth, and check it all out, check out the food and so forth. I'll surprise them, actually. I'm prone to go on Saturdays and Sundays sometimes, because sometimes the food's not as good on the weekend. I want to just say this. I have found that Governor Reeves and the chairman of the Senate Corrections Committee and the representative on their side too, everyone is concerned about corrections. They're concerned that it's funded adequately. They're concerned that it's successful. They're concerned that we have less crime victims. And so I don't have to go over and carry the bucket, to try to get all this done. They're going to take care of us in their own way. We just have to do a good job with our resources. And here's one thing we just worked on this morning. When you come to corrections and you want a job, and we have raised the pay to $27,000, that's like $14 an hour. But when you want a job and you have bills to pay at the first of the month, you need to be able to get on the payroll really quick so you can pay your bills if you're going to take this job. And if we say, oh, we're not hiring you for next week or 2 weeks, they got to go on down the road and find another job. So we speeded that up starting this morning. We worked it out, but we're going to be really quick. I hope in the next week or 2 weeks that when you come and ask us for a job, that we'll be able to have you on the payroll the next day. Now that's great, and that's critical, because we won't lose the one that come along. So we will then be able to fill our vacancies fast, and we won't have the vacancies. But right now, it could be 2 weeks, a month before you even get hired. And so as a warden at Angola, that was one thing I fought, because I had vacancies, but as soon as I could hire you when you got to the door, I didn't lose you. Because we go right on down the hall, we get you hired, the next day you start getting paid, and so then in 2 weeks, you're gonna be eligible, and I guess in a month, the way the system is. So that's really big time, and I think we're gonna fill our vacancies by those kind of changes that we're gonna make. We're gonna be streamlined and moving fast. Well, here's the thing. We're in the state of Mississippi, and we're one agency, but we're Mississippi. COVID is gonna have a horrible outcome probably for us. So whatever it is, we're going to do our part to keep the budget balanced, and if we have to do whatever, we're going to do it. And we're going to have prison every day, and we're going to have it safely. We're going to protect our officers, protect the public, and what they give us is what they're going to be able to give us, and the governor's going to look out for us and do the right thing. I'm excited to be here because I'm looking forward to the change, and we're going to have 40 students in our seminary program at Parchment to start this fall. And we're going to be rocking and roll with that program, because that's a culture changer for the prison system and for Mississippi. I'm just honored to be here and have the chance to make the difference.